What's up, everybody? Welcome back to VogelStang. Thank you for tuning into this video, and I have to say I'm pretty excited from my last video that I did those clues to try and get you guys to guess what I was hinting at with the clues, and right off the bat a couple people got it, and that was definitely very cool. I mean, I did have to play the clues back to back to have someone get it, but I think now everybody knows what I'm trying to do. So in the future I will be doing more of these, possibly in this video. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how it goes, but maybe. Watch out. So what do we got going on today? Today we have a strut tower brace from Ford Performance to install, and it also comes with a cowl brace, which is nice. One thing we must do, as always, well, not as always, I don't really do this ever, maybe only like once or twice, but maybe I need to start it. No pun intended. Let's go for a cold start. I actually already put this on my car, and I took it back off because the install video did not come out well. So I wound up taking it back off just to redo the video, so the content is a little bit better. So I'm doing it for you guys. Alright, so tools you're going to need for this installation are pretty limited. I would suggest a panel trim removal tool for removing the pins from the cowl plastic cover. If you don't have one, that's okay. You could use a screwdriver or something similar to pry it up. I also at one point used a tiny screwdriver to pop up those same pins. Just something, again, you don't need it. You can probably get it off without it, but it's what I used. So I'm giving you the list of tools that I used to do this installation. You may or may not need those. I used a 1/2" ratchet. Again, not necessary. You could use a 3/8 ratchet if you got it. Whatever you got. Ultimately, you're going to need, though, a 10mm socket. It does not have to be deep well. You can get away with a shallow 10mm. That was for the only thing I used that for was the battery nut to get off the positive battery cable. A 13mm socket. Again, this does not need to be a deep well. You can use a shallow socket. This is to get off the nuts on, or the bolts for the brace, for the cowl brace. Then you need a 15mm socket. This needs to be a deep well because the studs on the strut tower bolts or nuts, they're pretty long, so you're going to need the deep well. Optionally, a 13mm wrench for the 13mm bolts that are underneath the cowl plastic cover. I found it helpful to use a wrench instead of a 13mm socket. So depending on the route that you take, if you remove the entire cowl plastic piece, which gives you complete access to those bolts, then you wouldn't need a wrench. You could use a socket instead. But again, this is the direction that I took and the tools that I used. Get your plastic pins out for the battery cover. Just untwist them real quick and pop them out. And there's 3 of them. So one there, one over here, and one right there. So let's just take those out and take the battery cover off. Next thing we got to do is So we have this existing plastic cowl brace here that we're going to be taking off. This goes up underneath this other plastic piece. So we need to pop out these pins here, and it's kind of like a two-step process. So let me show you what I've been doing. And if you can see, there's like a little slot right here to pop up. All right, to pop up the one piece, and then I've been taking a panel trim removal tool and popping that up like that, and then go up underneath here and pop it up. So pretty easy. And then you're just going to do that for 1, 2, 3, and probably 4 and 5 maybe. I'll probably take all 5 off. So I'm going to do that now. Alright, so now what that allows us to do is lift up on here so we can get to the 2 bolts that are under here. There's one here and one here. So what you're going to notice also is that under there, let's see, we can look at this one here. This is probably a little bit easier. You can see the bolt right there, and sorry about the camera angle. Let's see. All right, see the bolt right there, and then the nut. This is not a loose nut, so it's fixed in place. So you don't have to worry about that nut falling off. You don't have to put a wrench on it. You don't have to keep it, you don't have to hold it while you're taking it off. It's actually like welded in there. It's fixed, so you don't have to worry about that falling. So you can just undo the nuts there, or I'm sorry, undo the bolts, and that's it. This is a 13mm wrench. Since I almost dropped the wrench, I wound up devising this little thing here where I tied a string to the loop end, to the closed end of the wrench, and put a loop on the other side. And I'm just going to, little like slip knot there, and I'm just gonna put it on my wrist. So in case I do drop it, it's not going anywhere. So I can always retrieve it, just to be safe. So we're gonna undo these bolts. All right. Yeah. And once you get them loose enough, you go in by hand. All right. So this plastic cowl piece, I gotta say, this is your last stand. The last stand for this plastic cowl piece. You can say it is the end of days for you. Now there are gonna be 2 more bolts up here. We're gonna take those off with a ratchet, whatever ratchet size you got, but it's a 13mm. Okay, and then this one. All right, okay, now grab your panel trim removal tool or something similar, and or you could do this by hand too also. However, the first time that I tried to get that off, it was a little tight by hand. So I mean, if you have troubles getting it off, just throw something underneath there. You get a screwdriver or a panel trim removal tool and just boop, pop it off. It comes right off. Okay, And now we're going to switch to, we got to take this bolt off here and this bolt off, and we're going to switch to a 15mm socket. And this one has to be a deep well. Alright, so I do have one more suggestion for you guys. You could do this either way. I know, okay, so this is the way that I'm choosing to do it. I'm choosing to remove the positive battery cable. Like I said before, I already did this, and I don't like putting a lot of strain or stress on cables. You know, they probably would be fine, but to me, I'd rather just disconnect the battery cable and make life a lot easier and have easy access to these bolts here. And that's going to be a 10mm socket. So I'll just pull back the cover, and you don't have to take the nut off, just loosen it up. And once you do so, you can just wiggle this right off. Now, this should come out pretty easily, this plastic piece. There we go. Hey, and guess where this goes? If you watched my last video, or the video before that, you know what pile this goes into. The expendables pile. Before we put the new brace on, gotta grab our 15mm socket again and take these two existing nuts off. And we'll grab the cowl brace. Now this is a big difference between the existing one that was on there and the new one. So you can see right there, it's a much larger piece. This is just like plastic, right? This, I'm not gonna pick this up and throw it because it's got a little weight behind it, and it's pretty solid. So I think that'll make a big difference in tying everything together. And let's see. So we gotta go underneath the battery cover, or I'm sorry, underneath the battery cable. All right. See if you can get it on there. And underneath the existing cowl plastic piece under here, like that. So it may take a little bit of maneuvering to get it in place. So this, you can see I'm off a little bit, so I'm just gonna kind of shove it over. All right, so that kind of looks like it's in the correct spot now. I'll lift this up. It was just stuck on the plastic piece, so all I did was just lift this up a little bit and push it forward, and it went right in. Let's take our 13mm bolts and screw those in. 3. Okay, so that's on right now. So it's on the 2 bolts over here. It's on sitting on top of the cowl brace on the same 2 studs, and same thing over there. Throw our 15mm nuts on here. Do the same thing on the other side. Again, I didn't tighten them down. They're just snugged. And I'm gonna, this side I will tighten down now. So, while I'm doing this, let me ask you guys a question. What do you think was a more iconic engine? Would you say it was the current 2020 Shelby GT500 Predator engine? Or do you think the 2003 SVT Cobra Terminator engine? Which one do you think was more iconic? Let me know in the comments. Just curious. So, whatever you do on this side is pretty much the same on the other side. I mean, they're like twins. So, it's very, very similar. The only difference is you don't have a battery cable on this side. Alright. Now I'm going to do the same over here. Tighten these. That's pretty tight. And pretty tight. Let's throw on our terminal, put on our positive battery cable on the positive terminal, tighten down the 10mm nut. And throw that back over. And take our pins, put our pins back into the cowl. I had that on Zoom the whole time. I hope it comes out okay. Put those back inside here in your whole plastic cover. Here. Now battery cover. And the pins. And don't forget this little retainer clip here. Pop that back on, and that's it. That is our installation. So, strut tower brace, along with the cowl brace installed, and I can't wait to see how it feels. You know, so you know, this is a decent looking strut tower brace. I like it. It's probably not the prettiest. It's probably not the prettiest or the best looking one that's out there, but I went with it because number one is Ford Performance, and number two, it came with the cowl brace, which I really do feel is going to make a difference. So one of the big things, you know, with structures and keeping things sturdy is triangles, and a triangle shape, a sturdy triangle shape is going to be stronger than just a simple bar going across here. Alright, so initial impressions with the strut tower brace, the Ford Performance strut tower brace, is wow, there is a huge difference in the front end. response difference. I'm going to take a nice turn here, and it just feels tight. So here comes another turn. Right. Wow. Yeah. Super, super, super tight. However, it makes the rear feel a little loose. But the front end is great. Wow, that is some excellent improvement. Now, there's a caveat to the difference that I feel. Like, I feel an amazing difference. I don't think you're gonna get that kind of feeling out of a strut tower brace only, okay? So, I do also have, remember, or if you haven't seen my previous videos, I do also have a Steeda G-Track Extreme K-member brace. So, I mean, my front end is completely tied together right now on the top and the bottom. So that, I think, together makes a huge improvement. So that's it. I highly suggest, if you have a base model GT or an EcoBoost, whatever, you know, because yeah, hey, you four-cylinder guys, you know, you want to handle too, right? So get yourself a strut tower brace. Do the Ford Performance one because it's got more points of contact where it's going to really strengthen it down. If there's another one that makes the, you know, a triangle shape with the cowl brace and tying in the struts together, you know, then whatever, get whatever you want. But get that. Also, get yourself the G-Track Extreme K-member brace from Steeda. They together, you will feel unbelievable difference in the front end. So do it. Next thing for me, I think that rear end needs. The rear end feels a little loose now that the front end is so tight. I can feel it. It wants to kick out a little bit. It definitely wants to kick out more than it did before. Because I think that now the front end is so sure-footed that I'm going in a little bit hotter, coming out a little bit hotter, and I can feel the rear end is a little tiny loose. So that's the next part that I eventually will get to. However, before I do that, I do have my next install is going to be, I feel, is probably going to be the most challenging for me so far. And I just need to install them, so that is going to be next. So I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you stayed till the end, that's great, thank you. And if this video helped you out, please give it a thumbs up. And if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, then whatever, you know, you don't have to. I would appreciate it if you hit it anyway. Drop a comment, let me know what you thought of the video. And remember, there were clues in this one, so who can get it? All right, see you guys later.